Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. Just fresh in from watching that Supercross. Congratulations to Cooper Webb, Eli Tomac, great ride. What a great race it was. I'm really looking forward to it coming back on television on Sunday again. But tonight we're here with Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I've got to thank Jordan, Susie, and of course Chelsea for helping put the show together this evening. We've got a great show lined up for you, so let's get right to it. On the starting line, we're going to tell you a little bit about what's happening here. We've got a next time try this segment where I'm going to be telling you more about how to disassemble a set of forks. Some problems you might run into there. We're going to help you get that straightened out. In the Moto Showcase, we're going to be taking a look at a Bultaco 250. I found out some interesting things about this bike. Not only is it a really great looking bike, but I'm going to share some other things about the bike and the color scheme with you a little bit later on in the show. In the Here's the Problem segment, we're going to be talking about some fenders. We're going to be talking about some air cap, fork cap problems. Looking forward to sending you some information on that as well. What's it worth? Got a 1981 Yamaha coming up. Oh, and right now, what I want you to do is share. Share the show. Just press that button, share it, get a couple of your friends to come over and join us, and I've got a really nice special gift tonight that will be given away randomly. Susie will pick a winner a little bit later on in the show, and the item is this Brad Lackey Motocross File DVD. So take a moment, share the show, get some of your friends to come over and watch it with us. A lucky winner a little bit later on is going to get this great DVD all about Bad Brad Lackey. We're doing good on YouTube. We're picking up a little traction there, but we still need your help. After the show, if you can go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Now, when I say subscribe, I don't know sometimes if some people are thinking that it's a subscription, so it's going to cost money. It's nothing. It's free, it's fast, and it's fun. You get to see all the videos that we've made here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. You get to see them on YouTube. You can watch it on the big screen TV. They're in high definition. Go over there later on, please. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tell some friends about it as well. I want to thank our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Paul Stannard, Vmxq&A, AMSOIL, the first synthetic oil since 1973, FastGuyStuff.com, and of course, Metro Racing, where these great shirts come from. On tonight's Next Time Try This segment, I'm going to give you a little tip on how to get a lower fork leg off a stanchion if you're having difficulty doing that. Earlier today, I wanted to get this lower leg off of this old fork leg. And in order to do that, there's an Allen bolt that sits in the bottom of the damper rod. It screws right in here. It holds the lower leg onto the stanchion. You want to get that off first, but sometimes throughout years, and as you can see, this one is rusted up pretty well, even though there's oil in there, sometimes there is no oil. It's an old bike. So this bolt becomes very, very difficult to get out. Yes, with the spring inside there and with the cap on, it is going to get a little tighter, but sometimes you can still have difficulty getting them out. So I'm going to show you what I did a little bit earlier, and it may help you the next time you get into this situation. Right here, you can see that I have the fork leg set up in the vise, and you can look down right inside there and see that the spring is in there. What I did was I added a couple of additional washers to take up some space in there and put a little more pressure on the spring and pushing down on the damper rod. Once you push down the damper rod, it'll spin not so much, hopefully not at all, and you'll be able to back that bolt right out of the bottom of the lower fork leg. Now, while I'm telling you this, there's two things to keep in mind. You're still probably going to need an impact gun like this, and I had to rig up something because it was a rather small Allen bolt in the bottom of that fork leg, but it worked. Something else to keep in mind is that on the bottom of that bolt, there's a copper washer, a sealing washer, a crush washer. You want to make sure that is either in good condition if you're going to reuse it, or go out and get some replacements before you put the bike back together. And you may be taking it apart to change your seals, change the spring, or just do some kind of maintenance there. Maybe you have a bent stanchion. I don't know. But whatever it is, those are some tips that are going to help you the next time you go to get a set of fork legs apart. Next time, try that. I also want to mention that in that video where you saw me putting some washers in that fork tube, there were 2 or 3 already in there. I added 2 more to add a little extra pressure on there when you put the fork cap on. The impact gun is still imperative most of the time. It's that jolt that you give it with the impact gun that'll help you get that bolt backed out. Jordan, I want to thank you for editing that little video for us, and I hope it helps some people at home. In the Moto Showcase, we got a nice Bultaco sent in this week by one of our viewers, Kevin Connor. It's a 1974 250 Persang, and Kevin tells me that he purchased this bike in 2008. Why I think this is interesting is because he did mention that he paid $3,800 for it in 2008. Now, that was 12 years ago. Things were really, really hot back then. And I would think this bike right about now has probably come back up to that price range. For a while, it took a dip. It wasn't worth that much. I think it is worth that much again. Kevin's had this bike a real long time, and he wrote a little something in the description. While Jordan's going through the slides, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It said the Mark 7 was Senior Bulto's tribute to Jim Pomeroy, who achieved the perfect trifecta of winning his Bultaco's first GP, and he did it in Spain in 1973. Although Pomeroy won the race on a traditional red and silver bike, in 1974, the Mark 7 bore the blue and white paint scheme to mimic the style of the American helmets that were used by the Americans in international motorcycle races, the traditional skunk stripes. I had never really thought about that before, Kevin. I'm really glad you brought that up during your description of the bike. I do remember, of course, Brad Lackey and Jim Pomeroy, the Americans at that time in Europe, having darker helmets with white stripes on them. And I often wondered, what that exactly represented. I understand it was for Americans, but I never really put 2 and 2 together and thought about, well, that was why Bultaco then went on to put the blue paint scheme with the white stripes on their bike. This is an absolutely beautiful example, Kevin. The paintwork is beautiful. The fiberglass looks nice. It's not over-polished. You've obviously had the bike for quite some time, but it looks like you've maintained it very, very well. Certainly a classic-looking Bultaco, reminiscent, of course, of the Jim Pomeroy era at the GPs and in Spain. So, Kevin Connor, I want to thank you for sending in this bike to us this week. If you can text message or inbox me your address, I'd be happy to get you some stickers that are given to us each week by fastguystuff.com. Kevin Connor, thank you again for sending in that Bultaco. Jordan, what do we got coming up right now in the Here's the Problem segment? What's up first? Malcolm Lee, I'm doing a period correct rebuild on a 1974 Suzuki TM 125. I have the original plastic in B+ condition. Would using new DC plastic be a mistake? Malcolm, no, I don't think it would be a mistake at all because as you stated here, you are doing a rebuild. So if you're just going to show the bike or maybe you're going to ride it or race it once in a while, I see no problem with putting on DC plastic. They've really, really improved the quality of what they've been reproducing over the past few years, and I would recommend it on any rebuild or a race bike. You have the original plastic. The good news is that stuff is painted, as you probably very well know. You can take the time to have that plastic stripped. You say it's in B+ condition. I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe it's got some spider webs in it. Maybe it's got a little chip out of it, whatever it might have. If you still have it and it's repairable, that's a really great touch if you do decide to correctly restore the bike somewhere down the road. So don't be afraid to use that DC plastic. And when you get the bike done, maybe you could send it in. We can have it on the show. Malcolm, thank you for the question. See more butts. The Schrader valve on the top of my forks are leaking oil. What can I do to fix it? Well, Seymour, the problem you have up there is that on that Schrader valve, there is an O-ring around there. And sometimes they begin to wear out over time or they dry rot and you're going to get some oil leaking out of the top. In the next photo, I'm going to show you or explain to you what you can do. There you see on the Schrader valve, you can see the O-ring just under the nut. You might want to replace that, but to be on the safe side, you might want to also use some Teflon tape like you see here, something that plumbers use. It's very, very effective. It's certainly strong enough to hold high pressure natural gas lines in a house, and it's used in a lot of other places as well. So You can replace that O-ring. That should do it. If you add a little Teflon tape to it and put it back in, you should have a real great success rate with having that thing not leak any further. Seymour, I want to thank you for sending in that question. In the What's It Worth segment, we've got a 1981 Yamaha YZ125 that recently sold on eBay for just $3,639. And I say just because I thought this bike was pretty incredible. As Jordan goes through the slides, I'll talk to you a little bit more about it. It was described as being original, and from what I could see, it certainly looked like it. The rims were in excellent condition. It didn't look like anything was really abused on the bike or that it was raced. It had the original numbers on the side plates. Yes, the gas tank looks a little aged. That happens on old plastic, as we all know, with the gas fumes coming through. But as you look on the frame or the pegs, the brake pedal, you could see that the bike appears to have very, very little wear on it. $3,600 and change for this bike I thought was a real fair deal because of its originality. You can find something a little bit cheaper, you're going to restore it, you're just going to have another restored bike. The originality of this bike was really where the money was. You could see on the hardware, it does have a little bit of a patina to it. The tires didn't look dry rotted. It looked like a really nice, presentable piece for $3,600 and change on eBay. So, originality is still the king of the game, in my opinion. Now, while the bike wasn't 10 on a scale of 10, it did show just minimal wear, and it did present nicely. So for $3,600, I thought it was a real fair deal. 81 Yamaha YZ125, $3,639 to be exact. In the product spotlight tonight, as usual, we have Preston Petty products. We are an authorized dealer for Preston Petty, or you can go right to the Preston Petty website, order from there anytime you like. I want to, at this time, extend my condolences to Patty and Paul Stannard, who lost their brother-in-law this week. We do not have a Preston Petty special, but we will have something coming up in the following weeks. In the meantime, after the show, go over and visit Preston Petty products online. They are, of course, on Instagram. They're on Facebook, and of course, they have their website, Preston Petty Products. The legend continues. Let's take a look right now at our commercial from Vmxq, and then we'll get right back to the show.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vmxq knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vmxq. Keep the ride going.
Leverton and everyone over at Vmxq for being a supporter and a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. When you get a moment, go and visit Vmxq.com. With over 650 products in their catalog, I guarantee they're going to have something for you in there. And if you have shared the show, we are or should be hearing from Susie any moment to see who our random winner is for this great Brad Lackey DVD from the Motocross Files. I've watched it many times. This is brand new, still in the wrapper. So you're going to be getting that in the mail. And if you like, I'm going to go out on a limb here. If you like, I could take it out of this cellophane and I could have it autographed for you by Brad Lackey. How's that for a deal? So for whoever the winner may be, if you tell me you want it autographed by Brad, I'll get that done for you. Susie, do we have a random winner? Mark Brown. Mark Brown, you're the winner of the DVD by Motocross Files, Todd Huffman, on, for Brad Lackey. So if you want it autographed, Mark, let me know. I'll get that done for you. If not, I'll get it in the mail. Make sure we have the correct address for you, and I'll get it right out to you. Thanks, Mark Brown, for sharing the show. And congratulations on winning that DVD. Just how I see it. Last week, I talked about the very short tribute that was given to Marty and Nancy Smith on the Supercross race. I understand there's only so much time. I didn't think it was really a great tribute. A lot of people agreed with me, a few disagreed. This week, I was so thrilled to find out that Todd Huffman, who was actually the creator of all the motocross files, the ones on Roger DeCoster, Ricky Johnson, and so many more, Todd Huffman will be making a tribute movie to Marty and Nancy Smith, and you'll be able to see it during Lucas Oil Motocross as it comes on television for the outdoor season. From what I understand from Todd and from things that I've read, the video itself will be available all the time on Facebook and online. So Todd Huffman, hats off to you, my friend. Great job. We are just so happy to know that the guy who was in charge of not only the motocross files, but for the USGP movie with Marty Motes, of course, the John Pettin story, and so many other fabulous productions that you've made following the history of motocross. Thank you, Todd. The announcements, let's see what we got coming up tonight. VMX Radio. Every Sunday, you can listen to us at 11 o'clock on Facebook. Right now, I believe Jordan has a little soundbite of our interview last week with Steve Simons. It was fabulous. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, go on Vintage Motocross Radio on Facebook, listen to the Steve Simons interview, and you'll really get a kick out of what happened there with Steve, the upside down forks, and his experience in motocross. Jordan, let's play those sound bites that you have for us. Let me ask you this, Steve. You know, the upside down fork, as seen on Brad Lackey's World Championship Suzuki in '82, when did the development of that actually start?
I guess if I go back to the earliest thoughts were in the late 70s. I was one of those kids that scribbled on my notebook in school. You know, I was always drawing stuff.
Sure.
And I always went back and looked at old cycle newses and I forget all the names of these European newspapers, like Italian magazines and so forth. And I was aware of some of the earlier forks, like a Puch Moped, Ducati Falcone, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Falcone. 54 Ducati Falcone had upside down forks. So I was always kind of curious about that. It was more like a toy than anything else. But around 1979, I'd been sketching some of that, just playing with it. Cliff White, who was Steve Wise's mechanic and a good friend of mine, had also suggested that would made sense to him. And I would have to give him credit for really kind of kicking me in the butt, so to speak, verbally to get moving on that. And so 79, I actually built a model, a small version with parts that I had.
There you have it. Part of the Steve Simons interview. If you get a moment, go and listen to it. Steve was a fascinating guest with so many interesting things to say about his early years in suspension with the Simon forks and so much more. Now, generally, I announce my guest on the show at this time for my radio show on Sunday. I've got 2 or 3 calls in to a couple of different people. As of right now, I cannot confirm who my guest will be on Sunday. But over the next day or so, I'm certain I'll be able to tighten up with somebody, and I will have it up on the Vintage Motocross radio page, and you'll find out who my guest will be for this Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Vintage Motocross Q&A shirts are available from our friends and sponsors, Metro Racing. They come in black and white, small, medium, large, extra large. For just $2 more, you can get it in a double extra large. They come in short sleeve too. $43, $46. Go over to Metro Racing, and you can order your shirt just like I'm wearing here on the show. I want to thank Peg and Don Miller for their support. Marty Smith decals are still available through my friend Rich Vasallo. You can contact him at USA1899@AOL.com. All the money from the proceeds from these stickers go to the Smith kids. Rich has been having them printed off. They've been done by Rich Dombey. Wally Hackensmith donated some of the artwork. So while they last, please go over there, get yourself a set of stickers. In fact, you know what you should do? Get yourself 2 sets, because you're going to want to put some on your truck, maybe some on your toolbox. But what I did was I put mine in a frame, and I have it hanging on the wall over in my office. So, Rich Vasallo, great job. I know you're selling a lot of them. I think you're on your second 100 batch or something like that. Go over to USA 1899 at AOL.com. That's his PayPal. Get yourself some Marty Smith commemorative stickers. Every week we have in the Moto Showcase a beautiful bike that's sent in by a viewer. And our little gift for people sending those bikes in are some great stickers from fastguystuff.com. I want to thank Sean Gomes for the great stickers every week. And if you get a moment, please visit fastguystuff.com. Sponsorship opportunities are still available for Vintage Motocross Q&A. If you get a moment, drop me a line. I'll get you a proposal. We'll get you on board. You can be seeing some of the same benefits that Metro Racing, FastGuyStuff.com, AMSOIL, and Vmxq see every week on this show. I don't have a slide for it right now, but from what I read, or I saw a picture of it in my stats on Facebook, we were close to 50,000 people in the last 30 days. 50,000. We're up about 22% from the previous month. So if you want to get on that action, drop me a line. We'll get your proposal. Become a sponsor here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Well, that does it for tonight. It seems like the show went by very, very quickly. I don't know if I was just all excited because I was watching Supercross and rushed out here and gave you all the information that I have. But I want to thank you all for watching. And don't forget the radio show on Sunday. Have a good night.